Alright folks, so first thing we're going to do in this build, I'm going to go ahead and put the CPU in and knock that out, removing the protective cover. And what you're looking for here is the good old arrow that basically tells you which way to line your CPU up, and you can just barely see it there. So this is going to be kind of tough to do one-handed. I should have got my Tri-1 camera stand out, and I probably will do that in a second. Alright, so on our CPU, you can see the little triangle there. That's what we're going to line up with the triangle. You want to be super careful with this thing. And in the winter, I usually wear a bunch of electrostatic gear, but it's so freaking hot right now. So this is one of those things where you can get into a little bit of trouble and screw up your CPU if you don't put that in right. Alright, so that's in. Let's go ahead and put the motherboard in the case now. Alright, so with our do-it-yourself case, we've got these nice screws that we can twist off with our hands to access our computer. I'm just going to put that over to the side, and let's see what we got in here. The usual mess. We've got our bag of hardware here. A little light on stuff. There is also some extra CPU. There's some fans. This case, I thought came with 3 fans, but actually it's only 2. So I'll make sure we hook those up. And let's get our hardware out. I usually like to have a little bowl so that I can put all the hardware in it, take it out, but I don't have that right now. So this already has the little extender things. Let me go ahead and take this twist tie off of here. And pull it out of the case. Get that later. Alright, so we've got our little bracket, which we're going to need to put in there. And if I was putting in a real good CPU fan, I would have to take off the other side of the case, possibly put in some mounts, or put them in on the other side of the motherboard before I put them in place. So if I look at our motherboard here, so we want to line up the heat shield with it. And so I take this and I pop it in here. And a lot of times these things are just a abysmal pain in the ass due to the manufacturing qualities of these cases. And this looks like it's going to be more of the same. So sometimes you just have to get the motherboard in there and hope that it'll press the shield in place and keep it there until you can bolt the motherboard down. And of course, it won't be that easy, so I'm going to pause this a second while I mess around with it. So this is definitely one of my least favorite parts. They should definitely come up with a better way to do this, but we've just about got it lined up, and you don't want to end up putting a lot of force on these motherboards while you're putting the screws in, and it's unfortunate in this case, though. It looks like I'm going to have to push on it a little bit while I'm screwing it in, and I'd rather not do that because you don't want to crack the motherboard. So we're basically going to take our screws and put them in. There's at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to grab nine screws. Hopefully I grab the right ones. And basically screw down the motherboard. So I will show you a couple of them, and then you'll have to do, or I'll spare you from watching the rest of them. Alright, so slowly getting this going. I brought in another light, one of the comm light fill lights I use for my camera work, just so we can see what we're doing. And basically, just putting in screws. Lots of screws to put in. And hopefully, so I've got two holes lined up good. It's really hard to see the rest of the holes. Even this is almost one of those projects you wish you were outside in the sunlight, if it was sunny out. All right, so I'm going to pause it now while I do the last 6 of these. All right, so we have the motherboard tightened down pretty good. And though eventually this is going to have some better gear in it, I will probably stick with some basic stuff just to get it running. So we won't mess with getting the M2 going just yet, and some of the other stuff. So we may just use a simple graphics card to get it going, so I don't have to screw with the power cables and all that. Once it's up, then I'll start switching stuff out to make it optimum. All right, so what I like to do at this point, and I find that you can either, well, you can follow directions, but I always like to do the case stuff next because it's actually a little more difficult in my opinion than hooking up the power supply. The camera's going to be in my way, this light's going to be in my way, so I'll probably just record after I've actually made the installation, and maybe hopefully some close-up photos so y'all can see what it did. Alright, well, we will install at least one thing. So here's the USB for the front of our desktop, and this one's simple enough. It goes in here, and of course the cable is a little bit longer than it needs to be. Sometimes these things go in really easy, and sometimes they don't, but that one ain't easy enough. Okay. So these cables are always my least favorite to install your power switch, reset switch. So we will have to get out the reading glasses for this one. So the directions that come with the quick installation guide, they're actually pretty good for this. These are ones you'll honestly want to hold on to for any case you build, because the gigabyte ones do not appear to be done as well as these. And I use a lot of gigabyte motherboard, so. But we're going to pause it, install this, and let you see what it looks like afterwards. All right, so just so you know, you look in your big book here, MSI Gaming Plus User Guide. You are looking for the JFP1 module there, which is right there. And so on our motherboard, it is going to be back in this corner. So there's your SATAs, and it is right there. Not the easiest place to get into. One day they'll build a case that this whole thing comes off, and you can easily get your fingers in there. And if you're wearing reading glasses, like, make it simpler. Alright, so reset switch goes in first, and you probably will not be able to see this, and it's so like I said, least favorite thing to do on these. Alright, so the reset switch is in there. Now we're going to do our HDD LED. I can find it. It's the power switch. And I'll do some cable management probably after this video. So can you see that? That is our HDD right there. We're a little too close. So that one's going to go right next to the reset switch that we just put in. Okay, so I think I mentioned there are definitely, if you do not do these right, it'll come back to haunt you later. So we now have the power switch, and that goes right next to our power LED, and is across from the HDD LED. So we want to make sure that well, interesting. So a lot of times these are colored, and in this case they're not. So you can tell if you've got it lined up right. But in this case, the print is all facing downward, basically. If this was standing up, it would be facing downward. So we know that the power switch, this is the power switch. Power switch is directly across from the reset switch. Okay. Now we've got one left. These two little singles, which whatever reason, I should find out why these are separate. The power LED positive negative. So we need to make sure we get this right. And in that case, we will refer back to our nice diagram here. And we're going to be right across from the HDD. So really, in the socket 1, we've got our HDD plus, HDD positive, and next to it, the HDD negative. So it'll go in there, if this will focus, like that. And if all goes well, they'll snap in there, no problem. Okay, so they're in. So honestly, for me, it's smooth sailing once that's done. And these were some good directions. So we're going to pause this a second. All right, folks. So we want to install our system fan, and we've got one module there, one there, and should be another one. So 2, and then there's a third one, or fourth one, sorry. Hopefully I called all those out, and then the CPU fan will go there later. So, you know, if you look at the directions, they tell you to do this a certain way. I find it easier to not have the CPU fan in the way. The RAM, all those things can be snapped in later, as well as the graphics card. Graphics card to me is like the last thing to put in here. So, all right. So that said, we have our system fan. That's the front fan. And we want to basically put this in the most logical location for it. And since we won't be able to add another front fan, we want to go up here. If we have the right connector here. Let's see. So I got to grab my light. It's always easier, these kind of things, if you have somebody around to help out to hold stuff. But in my case, I'm a one-man machine. All right, so there you go. Hopefully you can see that. Right in here behind all the wires went the first system fan. And really, you could completely wait till after the fact to install these, because you're not really gonna need those on the initial startup. All right, so over in this corner is another system fan, and you know, this motherboard is really awesome for the amount of fans it has, and that hence is another reason to go with a nice big case like this. All right, so I'm gonna have to drop that. Switch hands. Try and do this left-handed. And probably not succeed. Let me see if I got that. Nope. All right, so there's the other system fan in, and we'll have to find a good place to tie that off, or we'll use our ties to shorten that up a little. So I'm going to pause that and do that. All right, so now we have our, we can see that, USB HD audio. And these are going to have to be separated a little bit. So HD audio is back in this corner, and there's two USBs. And if you refer back to your user guide, there's a nice picture in here. You'll see there's a, hopefully we can see that. You've got the USB 1, USB 2. So we're going to use the USB 1, and we know that one is this guy over here. So let's go ahead and install that. And as you're looking at this, one of these is plugged, so you want to line that up. And it would appear it is this guy. So if I line that up good. All right, so did not do it correctly the first time. And when you don't do it correctly, try again until you succeed. All right, so this other one, the HD audio, is in this back corner. So let me rotate around the case. So hopefully you can get a good shot of that. And once again, we've got a plugged one. So we've got to figure out which one it is. And it's towards the front. And of course, the second I do that, it gets dark over here. So we gotta move the work light again. It's good because I wasn't lined up, and now I am lined up. So I always like things that snap in, and these don't necessarily snap in. And that can drive you nuts. All right, folks, so we have all of our elements from the case itself connected to the motherboard. And really, here's what we have left. We've got a CPU fan. We've got at least one stick of RAM. We're just going to put one in to get it started. Because, you know, whenever you screw something up like this, why put everything in if later you're going to have to take it out? So, just my thoughts. Got to put a graphics card in because of the processor. One benefit of an i3-9100 versus 9100F is troubleshooting. If you don't have to worry about the graphics card, it makes things a little easier. And the last thing we got to do is put in our power supply and make all those connections. So, I think I'm going to go with the CPU fan for now. So let me go grab that. All right, so we've talked about the CPU fan in the other video. This is basic Intel for this processor. You know, not a huge requirement to get a super awesome CPU cooler. We do have 3 in the house here that are in stock that we could install besides this one that would provide better cooling